to share with you and start out with a story. There's a little girl shopping at Walmart with her mother, and she was about 6 years old. And as they were exiting Walmart, it was pouring down rain. Anybody ever been to the store and you come out and it's like gushes? Well, that was what was going on. So everybody was huddled under the awning outside of Walmart waiting for it to stop. And they were waiting. Some were waiting patiently for it to stop, and others were irritated because Mother Nature had done this, and now their schedule's been all off kilter. And the little girl said to her mom, she goes, "Mommy, let's run through the rain." And the mom said, "What? Let's run through the rain." "No, honey, we'll wait until it slows down a bit." Well, she waited a minute, and then she said, "Mom, let's run through the rain." Mom says, "We'll get soaked if we do that." Little girl says, "No, we won't, Mom. That's not what you said this morning." The young girl tugged on her mother's arm. Mom says, "This morning? When did I say that you could run through the rain and not get wet?" The little girl says, "Mom, don't you remember? When you were talking to Daddy about his cancer, you said, if God can get us through this, he can get us through anything." The entire crowd outside of Walmart stopped dead silent. You couldn't hear a pin drop. Mom paused and she thought for a moment about what her daughter said. She said, "Honey, you're absolutely right. Let's run through the rain. If God lets us get wet, well, maybe we just need washing." Then off they ran. So many stood watching, smiling, laughing as they darted past the cars and, yes, through the puddles, and they got soaked. They were followed by a few other adults who screamed and laughed like children all the way to their cars. And, yes, this person who wrote the article said, "I even did it too, and I ran, and I needed a washing." I needed a washing. Today is about a need to washing stories. And it is about, let's go to the title. We got it up there? Yes. This is about washing ego, which loves for us to be in worry, fear, anger, whatever that negative emotion is. Today is about trusting in divine intelligence, in God, in spirit. Now, if you get honest with yourself, or maybe I'll just say with myself, as I get honest with myself, and I'm going to interrupt before I get too much started here. I see Channel 9 has just pulled up. They're not here to do it. They already did that this week. Ray, can you hear me? Okay. There is, and Steve, he's here to pick up his coat that he left here Thursday. And they'll all be looking like, why is the news here, right? That's all it is. So anyway, in order, and maybe I am telling on myself, right? I get into fear and I get into anger. Yes, I do. And I can do that by, I tell you all the time, news is one of the worst things that will knee-jerk me into fear and anger, but also things that can be said during the week. You know, just little conversations even between Michael and I can trigger my ego and move me into, Come on, am I the only one that does this? With family members or friends or whatever, right? I mean, this happens. It's called relationships, right? Well, ego loves that because as soon as I go, I've separated myself from oneness consciousness. I've separated myself from spirit. I've separated myself from divine intelligence. This is all the same. You put whatever name you want on this, higher power. Some people put life. I love it. My definition, I'm going to go through these definitions of God, universe, and divine intelligence, as God is pretty much easy for all of us. We pretty much all grew up with some kind of belief or understanding of what God is. I love that I take the word God and you can spell it with one O or two. Did you figure that out? Okay, good. God, good. There you go, in case your spelling's a little off. All right, so now we're going to go to the universe. Let's go to that next slide. Universe. Okay, now I'm going to tell you the word universe means everything that exists, and this is from the dictionary. Everything that exists, especially all physical matter, is what the universe is, including the stars, planets, galaxies, etc. in space. That all encompasses the universe. But when you break that up into universe, what is it? One song, one truth. One song, one verse. I love it. So, also, I don't know if you can read that. Let me see. Can you read that? I'm having a hard time reading it. I love this. Look at this. Words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Did you? Right? Words are energy. Use them wisely. Yes, right. Teacher over there knows, yes. Abracadabra is studied from the Aramaic phrase, and I can't really pronounce this, which means literally, I will create as I speak. Abracadabra. Poof. There comes you created a rabbit, right? Right. We all know that, right? The cells in your body react to everything that your mind says. Negativity brings down your immune system. If you want to take a picture of that, I think it's always a good reminder of this. Share it with your Facebook friends. This is the kind of stuff you want to share on social media. Not your opinions about whatever or what you had for breakfast this morning. This is the kind of stuff you want to share. All right, so now we've covered universe. What was the third word, right? God, universe, spirit. What is spirit? The spirit refers to the non-material or intangible part of a person, their essence or deeper nature. You agree with that? Do you agree that you are spirit? Yes. Right? All right. It is often associated with aspects such as the mind, consciousness, emotions, connection with the transcendental. It's considered as that which defines us as human beings beyond the physical body. Do we not say, I say it in every memorial service, we have only let go, this person has only let go of their body. Their spirit is what? Eternal. Is that true? Do you know that to be true for you? Yes. Do you? Yes. Then why are you so worried about things? The spirit may be related to religious or spiritual beliefs, and it is sought to cultivate it through introspection. Introspection, that's what you do in meditation. The search for meaning and purpose, connection with other beings, the expression of love. Here we go. Love, kindness, and compassion towards oneself and others. Oneself and others. Let's look at that next one. Down deep in his heart, he knew that we all have the same promise of unlimited help of the universal intelligence that guides all things. If we want it, we only have to plug into it with the master keys of desire and trust. If you want a testimonial of this slide, talk to Marcy after church today. Because she continued to keep plugging in. She got notice that where she lived, she had to be out in less than 30 days, and that's stressful. Anybody ever had to deal with that? Right? She has two teenage, well, one's not a teenager, or is he still?
Well, yeah, he's a young 21.
Yeah. 21's the number, but a little bit younger. And can you imagine what that's like to try and find a place to rent?
With a dog.
And a dog. And anyway, where's those keys? Put them up in the air. You got keys to your place this weekend. But this didn't happen because she sat there and went kumbaya, waiting for the universe, God's Spirit, to bring it to her. I watched this woman practice what you knew in vibration. You had to hold that vibration despite what was being thrown at you, and you held it, and miracles started transforming. She put feet to her words. She put it out there to everybody she knew that she was looking for a place. You just don't sit back and say, why isn't this working? Exactly. You got to keep going, keep going. That's another whole story there, I'm telling you. But it was about practice.
It happened quick, by the way.
It always will.
Week and a half. Exactly. As long as you stay focused. And don't let those little monkey mind things come into and bring you down and wallow in the mire. You just have to stay in faith and in your truth of who you are and what you want to do that's good. And the good you do comes back to you.
I'm telling you, I can look at a whole bunch of you who have done this in some form in your life. I have watched you move, transition, transformed into what it was that you needed or wanted in healing of all ways. And it's because you practiced what you know. And in the quest, and many people have heard me talking about this lately, this is an older book written by Richard and Mary Alice Jaffola, but this is one of my go-to books where I can just go boom, and then it's like, oh yeah. It's a 52-week course, but it is life-changing. And here I open up to the chapter called Trusting God. And here I am talking about, my focus today is really about divine order, trusting divine order, trusting God, trusting divine intelligence, trusting Spirit. Because in this chapter, the couple talk about when they first learned about divine order, oh, it's great, until something happens. And then you start to doubt divine order. But then you keep practicing, and eventually, oh, that's why that happened. So now I'm back in divine order again, divine order, until something else happens. And then there's why is it taking so long? I don't think this stuff works. It's Pollyannish stuff, right? There's that cult church that my parents said I was going to. Practice, and then bam, it shows up as to why. Or maybe it doesn't show up as to the why of it, but I'm telling you, with each tragedy, trial, tribulation, I have grown immensely. Immensely. I have watched some of you move through cancer diagnosis, and I have watched you transform immensely. It's been wonderful to watch this type of thing. But it takes practice. And they even say towards the end of this, these are short chapters, the end of this short chapter, that through the practice, they have learned to accept divine order quicker, and they don't let the ego mind get in there to tell you that, you got to do something. This is bad. You need to worry. You shouldn't sleep tonight. We should be up all night thinking about it. Anybody do that one? Right? And you got to tell ego to shut up, go to bed. Thank you for sharing, but go to bed. You know what I love? To tell your ego, you have moved in, you haven't paid a dime's rent, I'm evicting you. I think that's the best thing you can do. But it is about practice. I don't understand, okay? I don't understand why a 10-year-old congregant in this congregation years ago transitioned from cancer. I don't understand why a congregant's grandchild lived 18 hours and then transitioned. I don't understand why my good friend Debbie has been dealing with multiple autoimmune diseases for 20 years, and she's still here. I don't understand, but I do understand with her, because I keep watching her. She's like this minister to me. If I ever doubt, all I have to do is call her. And the odds are she's going to tell me, well, today I fell, or today I had to go into the emergency room and have the fluid pumped off my heart. And she's always got a rising story to finish it off. She's dealing with her reality, but she's got a rising story because she's learned how to practice this type of stuff. I don't understand the fires in California. All I know is that in the midst of perceived destruction, whatever that destruction is for you, there is a healing going on of some sort. I can tell you that from my own experience, and I bet each and every one of you have some kind of story, either for yourself or somebody you've watched move through for a healing, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. Mary Fig. I don't know if there's anybody here that remembers that name. Mary Fig. There's some of us still around that remember. Was she not one of the matriarchs of this church? She was the first person, you've heard me say, the first person that I went to when I walked in here very first time, and I went to her because I thought, she's the oldest one here, and she's going to tell me where the church laws are. Right? She'll tell me the truth. And she said there are no church laws. And I went home and thought she was lying. She became my best friend because she did tell me the truth. And I'm like, this place is home for me. Mary Fay got in a serious accident, broke both legs, both hips. She had been in her late 80s, would you say, Connie, you remember? I'd say close to late 80s. And I would go to visit her quite often in a nursing home. She just was in North College Hill, and I lived in North College Hill, so it was very easy to go see her often. And she was in so much pain. They had her in this bar contraption from here all the way down to her toes. And she was in pain anyway, but then the aides would come in because they'd have to turn her or they'd have to change her. And I was there one time as that was happening, and this is the way she would deal with her pain. Divine order, divine order, divine order, divine order. She would say that 50 times while that aide was dealing with her. And she said to me, she said, sometimes I don't really need to say it because some aides come in here and they're so nice and they're so gentle. But then other aides come in here and they just don't have the consciousness or the compassion. And I just have to, instead of yelling at them, I have to just yell to the high heavens, divine order, divine order, divine order. She was such a teacher to me. Watching her move through that horrific experience, and eventually she did get it home. But it was a long, long practice session for her. And you cannot tell me that there were not days when she questioned, how can this be divine order? Who in here has ever said, why me, Lord? Come on, right. Yes. I mean, why? I've been a good person. Why is this happening? Why is this person in my life suffering? Why did this get taken away from me? I can't answer the why, but I can keep claiming that divine order is happening. Oh, is that one of the next ones? Yes. Let's do this one because I love, this is Ernest Holmes' quote. Yeah, I'm coming down to read it. My notes are small. Do you know who Ernest Holmes is? Center for Spiritual Living, okay, Science of Mind, great author, just like Charles Fillmore and James Dillett Freeman, and who's our other one, Discover the Power Within. Help me here. Eric Butterworth, thank you. Mental blank. There is a power around you that knows and that understands all things. I'm going to say this and repeat it. There is a power around you that knows and that understands all things. This power works like the soil. It receives the seed of your thought and at once begins to operate upon it. It's receiving like a seed in the soil, immediately starts acting upon it. It will receive whatever you give it and will create for you and throw back at you whatever you think into it. It will create for you and throw back at you whatever you think into it. So if things are what you would call perceived blocked in your life, you have to really own what you're planting in the soil of your consciousness. What are you planting in the soil? Because you could be planting really good stuff, and then all of a sudden you turn the news on and you start getting angry. What happened to the seed and the health of that seed? Okay, you got to start switching it back. You've got to start switching it back and feeding it love thoughts, feeding it compassionate thoughts. Not those angry so-and-so, and I can't believe that's happening, and I can't believe they said that, or they're doing that. You got to get back. What is it? Got to get back to the garden. What is that? That's a song by the Byrds or somebody. We got to get ourselves back to the garden. Anybody know that song? I'm not a singer, but I sure love music, and it speaks to me. You know Emily Cady from Lessons in Truth. Oh, yeah, I've been talking about that last week. That was a big lesson. That book's in the bookstore. Anyway, her quote says, the Nazarene would have been Jesus or those who followed the teachings that Jesus was out there talking about. They went daily apart from the world only that they might come again into it and renewed with spiritual power. So they didn't go away to stay away. They went away so that they could be, in the world, but not of the world. And they could live in this world with people, with all the mixture that comes with our world, right? But they had to keep getting a way to tap in to your spiritual power that lies within you. Go into the stillness of the divine presence, that we may come into the world of everyday life with renewed inspiration, increased courage, and power for activity and for the overcoming. I love this one. This is from Evan Hodkins School of Alchemy. The Daily News, where's my prayer chaplains? Where are you all at? Yes. The Daily News provides me with a list of those persons who need prayer the most. Isn't that true? Yes. So, where am I going with this? Let's go to that next slide. There is a universal intelligence that we call God or soul or spirit, consciousness, and it's everywhere and in all things. Wayne Dyer. Who loves Wayne Dyer? Oh yeah, great teacher. I'm going to close today with another story. And this story is about a man named Tommy A. Dorsey. He is one of the founders, or considered to be one of the founders, of gospel music. So this is not Tommy Dorsey for those of you who know that big band era. This is Thomas A. Dorsey, but he goes by Tommy A. Dorsey. In 1932, I was 32 years old and a relatively new husband. My wife Nettie and I lived in a small apartment on Chicago's South Side. One hot August afternoon, I was scheduled to be the featured soloist at a large revival meeting in St. Louis. I didn't want to go, especially since Nettie was in her last month of pregnancy with our first child. After kissing her goodbye, I hurried down to our Model A, driven by a fresh Lake Michigan breeze, set out on Route 66. However, just outside the city, I realized I had forgotten my music case. I turned around, anxious to retrieve it. When I returned home, I found Nettie peacefully asleep. A strong feeling again came over me to stay, but not wanting to disturb her, I shrugged it off and I gently got my case of music and got back in the car. The next night, amid the sweltering heat of the St. Louis crowd, they called for me to sing again and again, another encore and another encore, and after the performance, a messenger boy approached me with a Western Union telegram. My heart raced as I ripped it open, and the envelope read the chilling words, "Your wife just died." The joyful sounds of singing and clapping that surrounded me fell blank, and I fell and collapsed. I then got up and rushed to the phone, desperate to hear any updates, and all I could hear on the other end was, "Nettie's dead." When I finally got home, I learned that Nettie had given birth to our son, but that night, he passed away. I buried both Nettie and our little boy together in the same casket, and then I fell apart. For days, I isolated myself, consumed by my grief. I felt abandoned by God. I wanted to abandon my music, returning to the jazz world I once knew. But in those dark moments, I recalled that afternoon when I should have stayed with Nettie. Was that urging to remain with her a message from God? If I had listened, maybe I would have been with her and she wouldn't have died, or maybe I would have been with her as she passed. From that day forward, I resolved more to listen to God, but I remained lost in sorrow. He had been given up as music. Everyone was kind, especially a friend, Professor Fry, who seemed to understand what I needed. On a Saturday evening, he took me into a neighborhood music school. The sunset was filtering through the curtain windows, and he sat me down near a piano. As my fingers wandered over the keys, something profound happened. I felt a wave of peace over me. In that moment, I sensed the presence of God. The presence of God. A melody formed in my mind. And I'm sharing this with you because he was beside himself and he did not trust divine order. Gave up on God, gave up on divine order. But once he touched those piano keys, he touched the spirit inside of him. And divine order took place. And that moment, when he sat at the piano, this song was written. Blue, we got it on?
Got it on now? Okay. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
If you know it, let's sing that verse again.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home.
Thank you, Marcy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, yes, thank you. A cappella. Last minute request from me. That story touched my heart. So I want to just end today with namaste and trusting what I'm truly saying when I say namaste, that the Christ within me sees the Christ in you. And may we all of us, hold on, knowing and trusting. Divine order is always taking place. It cannot help itself. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.